Today on the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement.
We are going to discuss why having a specialist is so important in today's world.
And on our Coach's Corner, we're going to go over some retirement missteps that you need to be aware of.
And on our Chalk Talk segment today, we're going to explain the 4 retirement decisions that you have to make now.
So sit back, relax, and learn. The Chad Slagle Show starts now.
I'm Chad Slagle. I believe financial planning is about educating people and empowering them to make better decisions with their hard-earned dollars. Coaching gives me satisfaction from watching a player succeed and get better. You need an experienced team around you. The best coaches have great assistant coaches. I have brought a lot of the techniques and structure I learned from playing and coaching football and apply them to the world of investing. My goal now is to coach as many individuals and families as I can on how to get successfully to and through retirement.
Welcome in, everyone, to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. I'm Wendy Erickson here with the coach, Chad Slagle. Today on the Clipboard segment, we want to discuss why having a specialist is so important in today's world.
That's right, Wendy. A specialist is often defined as a person who has special knowledge and skill relating to a particular job or area of study. A generalist is essentially the opposite. They have an understanding of a wide range of things. So why do I bring this up? Well, think about the big decisions you have to make in your life. Maybe it's your personal health or the health of a family member. Don't you think it would make more sense to see a specialist, such as a cardiologist, if you have heart problems rather than your general practitioner? Or if you're building a new home, would you suggest your general contractor make all the decisions about your new home? Probably not. Instead, he or she oversees all of the day-to-day operations and helps you find a specialist, such as an electrician or a plumber, to work on other areas of your home. Well, let's think about retirement. This is arguably one of the most important milestones of your lifetime. Would you rather work with a generalist in this case or a specialist? Now, the specialist or retirement specialist works with people who are retired or those that are getting ready to retire each and every day. They have seen all that retirees go through and all the hurdles you will have to overcome and can help you be successful throughout this long journey called retirement.
Well, I vote for seeing a specialist. I recently actually had to see a specialist for an infection in my finger that wouldn't go away, and he figured out what it was and gave me the correct medication, and so I'm happy to say my finger is alive and well, and so am I. So, but I was grateful for his area of expertise when the generalists were a little confused by what was going on. So
where the general practitioner may deal with that maybe once a week if he's lucky, where the person that you met with, they deal with it every single day.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. And again, I want everyone to understand having a generalist or a general practitioner is not a bad thing, but when there are areas of expertise that you need, that's when you have to bring them in. And that's what we want to talk about today, are some retirement missteps that you cannot afford to make, that unfortunately your average financial planner, someone who takes care of somebody in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and all of a sudden you walk in and you're getting ready to retire in the next 4 to 5 years, or you already are retired, that is someone that you want to make sure that deals with people just like you each and every day, not someone that is a general practitioner, but someone who is a retirement specialist. And that's what we're going to get into and we're going to talk a little bit about today on today's show.
Well, I, for one, with something as big and as important and as exciting as retirement, want to make sure that it goes well. So
it can be a very exciting thing,
have an expert.
or it can be a very stressful thing.
Right,
that's
exactly. All right, well, when we return on the Coach's Corner, we're going to go over some retirement missteps that you need to be aware of. We'll be right back.
The number one concern of retirees today is outliving their hard-earned dollars. It is more important now than ever to educate and empower yourself to make better decisions with your money that it has taken you 30 to 40 years to accumulate. How do you do this? By using our Financial GPS, our guided planning system. This is a 4-step process to help get you successfully to and through retirement. The first step in this process is to create clarity. Here we will help identify your goals as well as your concerns and identify what you want to accomplish in retirement. The second step, we will analyze the risk you're taking with your current portfolio, and this step will also identify exactly what you are paying in fees. In the third step, we will evaluate and assess your current plan and help identify the gap between the missing pieces. And in the fourth and final step,
This is where we will work together to implement a plan of action to accomplish your retirement goals. And this process can take place at any one of our convenient locations in Missouri and in Illinois. So call now to get set up on that right path on your journey through retirement.
Welcome back to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. We are back with the coach, Chad Slagle, and his colleague, Chad Tobin. And today on the Coach's Corner, we're going to discuss some retirement missteps that you need to be aware of.
We all make mistakes or have missteps as we go throughout life, and that's how we learn. It is not our successes that drive us, it is our failures. Some are smaller, while others are bigger and have a larger impact on our lives. And the key to these missteps is to learn from them so that hopefully you do not have them happen again. And retirement today is like having 25 to 35 years of unemployment. This is a long journey that you want to enjoy, that you want to be successful in. But in order to be successful in retirement, you need to learn from some of these missteps that could be detrimental to your retirement. And you have to be willing to make some changes. So today, we want to show you some of the missteps that you need to avoid. And later on, we're also going to discuss some decisions that you will need to make to help you be successful in retirement.
Well, and Chad, I think, all of us are probably guilty of the word called procrastination. And I think it's so important today, especially when nearing going into retirement. You need to act now on what we're talking about, some of these missteps to prepare yourself for retirement.
All right, well, we're going to save you some trouble today, hopefully. We've got a list of missteps, so let's get on to the first one.
The first one is going through retirement alone. And this may be the biggest misstep that we see. Many people believe they can go through retirement alone and manage their investments all by themselves, or they use some type of robo-advisor online or have some big software that they think will solve all their problems. And my biggest thing is, when you get to retirement, why put yourself through all of this stress? Make sure that you have somebody to guide you. And I think that's one of the biggest things. But also, when you have a computer or you're trying to do it online, trying to do it yourself, in my opinion, we often talk about in our office with our clients, we believe a lot of communication gets lost over the phone or through a computer. So you want to make sure that you have time and you make time to be able to sit down with somebody face to face, eye to eye, so that communication is not lost.
Yeah, and I think, going alone a lot of times, is very difficult in anything we do. And it's always nice to have that reassurance to fall back on. And I think, when it comes to retirement and having that retirement specialist, that's what that specialist can do, is help keep you on track so you're not going alone through this long journey of retirement.
All right, so what about the second misstep?
The second would be not solving for income. And you think about it, when you're working, income is solved for you in the form of an hourly or a salary wage, or maybe bonuses that you may receive from work. But when you retire, now you have to have that game plan for income. And what we find and what we talk about often on this show, today less than 20% of American workers have a pension. So you no longer have that income stream coming in once you retire. And the other thing we see is people, Chad, we often see this in our office, people are trying to use the same vehicles that got them to retirement to give them that income in retirement. You cannot do that. What I mean by the vehicles, a lot of these vehicles are invested in the Wall Street world, in the market, and that's great when you don't have to touch that money. But when that money's invested in the market, you have two problems. Number one, you have no idea how long you're going to live. And number two, we have no idea if the market's going to go up or down. And when you have an income stream, as we talked about earlier, it's like having 25 to 35 years of unemployment. You have to make sure that income stream comes in each and every month for the rest of your life, no matter how long you live. So you want to take the unknowns out of it.
Yeah, and many people out there listening, that you have a pension, you have that Social Security that pretty much gives you that peace of mind. And if you're living within those fixed income worlds of those two incomes, then that's great. But like Chad mentioned, a lot of people don't have the pension. And, to have an unsustainable income coming out of the Wall Street world, and you're risking all of that, a lot of times that we call that maybe income. And that's one of the biggest problems we see.
All right, so solve for income. What is the third misstep?
Well, we kind of got into it here a little bit on number two, is not understanding the risk and the fees that you're paying on your investments. And we have people come into our office all the time and they think they are diversified. And what we mean by that is they have equities and bonds. The problem is with equity and bonds, it's still all at risk in the market. And that's really not true diversification. And most of the people still have way too much risk in their portfolio at this stage of the game. As you get closer to retirement, you want to make sure you start insulating your portfolio from a downturn in the market. And the other thing is, we talk about risk, but also understanding the fees you're paying on your accounts to the penny, which is so important today, because if you're paying high fees, a lot of that can cut into your retirement accounts as well as any gains or magnify any losses that you would have.
Well, and I think understanding that, we talk about retail cost versus wholesale cost, and it's no different than, going and buying a car, and we tell that story, but you have to understand that with your investments, that also is a similar thing. You can be investing retail, or there's some lower cost on the wholesale side that you need to be aware of out there and educate yourself on.
Okay, and the final misstep you say is not planning for health care.
Yeah, this is one of the big ones that a lot of people really don't plan for, and this is a common misstep that people often ignore or overlook. And even number one, either you don't want to pay a bunch of extra premiums for something that you may not need and you believe it's really not that important, or you don't realize the magnitude of health care and long-term care expenses can have on your retirement. And unfortunately today, the statistics show us 1 out of every 2 people are going to need some kind of long-term care. And in our area today, it's anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000 a month is what it costs for long-term care. So that's a huge misstep, is not having a plan for that long-term care or those health expenses.
Well, and this is something that, as we talked earlier, procrastination, a lot of people don't want to believe this could happen to them, but you have to have a plan. You have to be proactive, because this is the one thing that could wipe your entire nest egg out pretty quickly.
And we don't want that to happen. All
No,
right,
we don't.
good information. To download our free white paper today about building a roadmap to retirement, visit slagelfinancial.com/empoweryou. Coming up on Chalk Talk, we're going to explain the 4 retirement decisions that you have to make now.
Okay, let's go.
He's such an involved dad. He's always telling the kids stories. I remember when so-and-so said I couldn't do this, or I didn't make this team. That's what drives him. In our family, we always tell our kids to stick up for each other, stand behind one another. He feels it's his role to provide, keep us safe, and to make sure that the kids are taken care of. A lot of Chad's clients have the same traditional values, and he bonds with them. Each family has a different set of circumstances, and each family is unique and different. The common thread between all of Chad's clients is that they want the best for their family, just as he would our own family.
Welcome back into the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. So we just went over some retirement missteps that you need to be aware of. Now we want to discuss 4 retirement decisions that you have to make now.
That's right, Wendy. We just went over the 4 retirement missteps that you do not want to make. Now on the Chalk Talk segment, we want to show you the 4 retirement decisions that you have to make now to overcome these missteps. And we want to be clear. Many of you out there watching may already be retired or maybe making some of these mistakes or missteps currently, but that does not mean it's too late to make a change. For those of you looking to retire in the next 5 to 10 years, this is where you can take a look at where you currently stand and see if you need to make some changes as you get closer to retirement. But the key is to be open to changes. In order to make you more successful in retirement, you have to be willing to put yourself sometime in an uncomfortable situation.
Well, and I think change, a lot of people don't like change, but, if you look back on some areas of your life, you probably made some changes that ended up being really good. And this is what we're talking about, is you have to be open. Retirement planning 15, 20 years ago is completely different than it is today. So you have to be open to making some changes for the better.
All right, so let's jump into this, the first retirement decision.
The first retirement decision is making sure that you're working with a retirement specialist. Just like we mentioned earlier on the show, when it comes to something important in your life, you want to have a specialist on your side, someone that's been there before, someone that has blazed that trail for you. And when it comes to your health, you want to see a specialist. The same thing, folks, when it comes with retirement. Working with the retirement specialist can help you with many different facets of retirement, not only your financial planning, but also when it comes to estate planning, tax planning. You want to make sure you have a retirement specialist that is that financial quarterback that can bring all these different facets that you need to be successful in retirement together for you.
Yeah, and I think, Chad, we often get calls from clients, and as simple as trying to get money out to buy a car, or how are they going to move forward to set up their estate plan, or many different types of questions. And as that specialist, we're able to kind of be that quarterback and help support them and help guide them in areas to make the best decisions for them.
So I am guessing that a retirement specialist can help us with the next couple of items on the list. Let's jump into the next one.
So the next one is create a written retirement income plan. We often talk in our workshops about educating yourself and why that is so important. And 20 years ago, when somebody got ready to retire, you really didn't need to do much financial planning at all. Why? Because you had a game plan already set up in the form of a pension. In other words, when you retired, you knew that you had an income stream coming in each and every month for the rest of your life. And if you hopefully set it up right, the rest of your spouse's life. So you both were covered. However, today, as we talked about earlier, less than 20% of American workers have a pension. So now the burden is all on you to build a game plan. That's why we talk about number 2, create a written retirement income plan. And not a maybe income plan as Chad was talking about, but to make sure when you retire today, you know that you have an income stream coming in for the rest of your life, the rest of your spouse's life, and it takes into consideration the cost of living and, of course, the rate of inflation. So that game plan's built. So it doesn't matter if the market has a 10, 20% correction. You know that your game plan will withstand the rest of your life and the rest of your spouse's life.
Yeah, and I think, we talk about the maybe income plan. A lot of times we run into people coming in, they think they may have this income plan. They're drawing, 4 or 5% from their portfolio. And you look at some of the fine print, and this income is set up to last to a life expectancy, say to age 85. And so the questions that are around that plan is what happens if we go through another 2008 kind of market or another financial crisis, and how is that going to affect their income? So we have to understand we need that income to act a lot like a pension to make sure the clients have that peace of mind it's going to last throughout the rest of their life.
Last for life. That would be good peace of mind. What about the next decision?
So when we talk about building that game plan for the rest of your life, you have to make sure that you look at what you have now. So what we talk about here is putting your portfolio through a stress test. Just like if you go to the doctor and they run a stress test to determine your health, that they want to put you through a portfolio stress test. If you're having heart problems, they throw you on a treadmill and see how you react, which tells you exactly where you're at. It's the same thing, folks, when it comes to financial planning. You want a stress test on your portfolio now that will show you actually to the penny what you're paying in fees for your accounts right now. And number 2, how much risk you're taking. In other words, if this market had a 10, 20% correction this year, just like it did, we had that 15, 20% last quarter, the fourth quarter of last year, how much of your money, the way that it's set up right now, would you lose? And those are things that you need to know before you build a game plan going forward.
Yeah, and I think, it's important to understand risk isn't bad, paying fees isn't bad, but it's really important to educate yourself and know the amount of risk you're taking and the fees that you're paying, because we're talking about most of the time when it comes to your portfolio, this is the largest asset. It's worth more than maybe even your home, and a lot of times we see people just don't understand exactly the risk they're taking and the fees they're paying.
And I would encourage everyone at home, Wendy, before we move on, do you know exactly what you're paying in fees for your accounts to the penny? Do you know how much risk you're taking? And unfortunately, most people watching today, just like in our workshops, every week that we sit down with 10, 20, 30 people, 90% of them have no idea what they're paying in fees. So these are things you need to educate yourself on.
All right, well, last but not least, have a game plan.
Yeah, you need to have a game plan. We talk about having a game plan for long-term care or home health care. And that could be, number 1, you want to go out and you're going to try to pay for it on your own. I would encourage you to have a better plan than that, because the problem is today it's $6,000 to $10,000 a month. Just imagine what that's going to be 10, 15, 20 years down the road. So pay for it yourself. Number 2, go out and buy long-term care insurance is another option. But again, with long-term care, what happens if you pay into this 10, 20, 30 years and never need it? Then you're out all that money. Or it could be, Chad, we've often talked about, there's some hybrid vehicles out there, life insurance and long-term care. That way, if you do pay into it for 20, 30 years, the premiums you put in times 10 probably will go to your beneficiaries tax-free. So there's a lot of different options out there. It really depends on you and your situation. What we would tell you, though, is you need to have a plan for the unknown.
Yeah, and no different than anything. Having a plan is a lot better than not having a plan. So, going through these options that Chad just mentioned, understanding what's best for you and your family, and move forward and implement that plan.
All right, and once again, to download our free white paper about building a roadmap to retirement, visit slaglefinancial.com/empoweryou. When we come back on our strategy play, the Chads are going to show you the value and importance of working with a retirement specialist.
The number one concern of retirees today is outliving their hard-earned dollars. It is more important now than ever to educate and empower yourself to make better decisions with your money that it has taken you 30 to 40 years to accumulate. How do you do this? By using our Financial GPS, our guided planning system. This is a 4-step process to help get you successfully to and through retirement. The first step in this process is to create clarity. Here we will help identify your goals as well as your concerns and identify what you want to accomplish in retirement. The second step, we will analyze the risk you're taking with your current portfolio, and this step will also identify exactly what you are paying in fees. In the third step, we will evaluate and assess your current plan and help identify the gap between the missing pieces. And in the fourth and final step, this is where we will work together to implement a plan of action to accomplish your retirement goals. And this process can take place at any one of our convenient locations in Missouri and in Illinois. So call now to get set up on that right path on your journey through retirement. Welcome back to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. On this week's strategy play, we're going to show you the value and importance of working with a retirement specialist. So we talk about working with retirement specialists and why that is so important. We want to I want you to think about you. So here on the board we have you and where you're at right now with you and your spouse. And as you get closer to retirement, or if you're already retired, you have one of two scenarios. Number one, you're currently working with an advisor, or number two, you're going it alone. And we talk about number two, going alone. The problem with that is, let's say you've worked for 20, 30 years, you've managed your 401k, you did a pretty good job of saving up, and you think, well, you know what, we're going to go it alone, so we're going to throw our money into some index funds. We're going to keep it very low cost. We don't have a lot of fees, and then that's good when the market's going up. The problem is, though, folks, when you retire, when you need things like income, you want to talk about wealth transfer, you want to talk about long-term care. The problem with that is, Chad, we talk about having that guidance in the 3 worlds of investing, and the same thing comes with number one. If you currently have an advisor right now that you're working with, the problem that we find is they only work in one world.
Yeah, and I think, many people feel they may have that retirement specialist, and as you kind of look through the different worlds and the different things you have to plan for, so often it's just that retirement specialist focusing on your risk and maybe hopefully helping you on how much you're paying in fees on those investments and trying to reduce both of those. But when you look at the bigger picture, that retirement specialist can help you in the banking world, can help you in that Wall Street world and that insurance world to kind of give you a lot of extra protection.
And again, in our opinion, so everybody's clear, and we recommend that you have a little bit in all 3 worlds. You have the banking world, you have the Wall Street world, and the insurance world. So let's say you retire and you got 80 to 90% of your money in the market, and you need an income stream that's going to last the rest of your life, the rest of your spouse's life, no matter how long either one of you live, and the majority of that money sitting in the Wall Street world. Now that money may or it may not last. Why? Because number one, you have no idea how long you're going to live. Is it going to be 85 or 105? And number two, we have no idea if the market's going to go up or it's going to go down. That's why we have to bring some other worlds in here, like the banking world and the insurance world, to make sure you have that income stream that's going to last throughout the rest of your life. And again, that's why we talk about it being so important today, more so than if you're 20, 30, 40 years of age. Now, you no longer need that general practitioner, that basic financial planner. Now what you need is a retirement specialist.
Yeah, and I think really the first step when it comes to you and that retirement specialist, they're going to sit down and they're going to ask many questions, that they're going to listen to your risk, your income needs, the lifestyle goals, and really kind of fill some of those areas of importance you haven't filled at this point.
And they're going to customize it to you. They're not going to dictate to you what you should do with your money simply because you fit a certain demographic or a certain age. Are you going through retirement alone? Do you need a retirement specialist to help guide you through this long journey called retirement? If so, we encourage you to give us a call today, and that's this week's Strategy Play.
If you have any questions about today's show, or if you'd like for us to discuss a new topic, email us at askchad@slaglefinancial.com to have your questions answered on the show. We'll be right back with some of the key takeaways from today.
Your host, the coach, Chad Slagle, and join
I'll be with you guys in just a few minutes.
When it comes to your health, your life, your family, your home, and your hard-earned dollars, of course you want to make sure you're working with that sharp, energetic, knowledgeable individual that is always looking out for your best interest.
Such short notice. Appreciate it.
Thanks. It's time to get your financial house in order. This is the new age of retirement planning. In the Wall Street world, that's what they talk about. You got to have
Now back into the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through
We
retirement.
are Slagle Financial. Call now, 888-294-9248.
Welcome back once again to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. We have covered a lot of ground today. What would you say are some of the key takeaways, Chad?
Number one, work with a retirement specialist to help guide you throughout this journey called retirement. Do not go it alone. Number two, make sure you have a written retirement income plan in place. And number three, make sure that you put your portfolio through a stress test. Know exactly right now what you're paying in fees, but also how much risk you're taking with your current portfolio. In other words, if we had a 10, 15, 20% correction, how much of your money would you lose the way that it's set up right now? Then, of course, build a plan going forward from there.
One more mention to download our free white paper today about building a roadmap to retirement. Visit slaglefinancial.com/empoweryou. Well, Slagle Financial and their team of advisors have educational events coming up in your area to make sure you are prepared for today's retirement. For more information and to sign up for one of these events, call 888-294-9248 or visit chadslagleshow.com.
Remember, folks, success is waking up in the morning, whoever you are, wherever you are, no matter how old or young you are, and bounding out of bed because there's something out there that you love to do, that you believe in, that you're good at, and you can hardly wait to get at it again today. At Slagle Financial, realize that this is bigger than our team. It's about educating you, the public, and our wonderful clients, and empowering you to make better decisions with your hard-earned dollars. For my colleague Chad Tobin, for my co-host Wendy Erickson, this is the coach, Chad Slagle. Thank you very much for joining us. We look forward to visiting with each and every one of you next week.
Clothing for the Chad Slagle Show is provided by AL Custom Clothiers, a custom men's clothier that understands the value of offering our customers the best for less. ALCustomClothiers.com or 314-570-6000.